I think we should go ahead and start, yeah?
Sounds good.
Okay, welcome to everybody. My name's Nicole Nafa. I'm the Director of Recruitment and Admissions here, and we're going to certainly introduce you to the other folks that are going to be helping us out with this presentation in a moment, and we'll give you a little overview. But before we really launch in, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rondi Walker, who's going to lead a little centering prayer moment for us, and ask Lori to pop that up on our video here. And I'll turn it over to you, Rondi.
Okay. I thought of just something that would capture what I think, as I talk to Doctor of Ministry students, what I think is the some of the underlying spirituality of the search for a voice to say something more about ministry than you have been able to articulate, and the seeking for a community to converse more deeply about certain issues. And so listen to this hymn, which is it's not in any hymnal I know except the new, more recent Disciples of Christ hymnal that I don't have a copy. So I'm doing this from memory. So if any of you know it, you may see a variation in the words if I haven't remembered them correctly. I did an experiment not long back with a group of students in an online class about singing online, and I discovered it doesn't work.
It's in the Methodist hymnal.
Okay, it's in the Methodist hymnal. Okay, that's good. The lone wild bird in lofty flight is still with thee, nor leaves thy sight. And I am thine, I dwell with thee. Great Spirit, come and dwell with me. The ends of earth are in thy sight, the ocean deep and the longest night. But I am thine, I dwell with thee. Great Spirit, come and dwell with me. That's a beautiful, adventuresome way of looking at ministry and life, but sometimes we need a community of conversation. So here at PSR, we've started referring to the Doctor of Ministry as a place where you can seek your flock, where you can say what you have seen and heard and experienced in a group of people who really believe in what you believe in and who share your spirit, even if they don't experience exactly the same thing. Take just a minute before we start the conversation to get in touch with your deep seeking self and imagine finding your flock. I'll just give you a little while of silence. I invite you to draw a breath and let's pray with each other. Holy One, we are seeking to know more fully how to be ministers. How to be ministers of the Spirit, ministers of the community, ministers of society. How to take what we have learned in doing the work that has been set before us, think on it critically, and share it with others who come after us. We ask you to be with us as we seek and as we find our companions on the way. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
So again, I want to welcome you, and we'll go to the next slide to give you a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be sharing with you today in terms of the program and a little bit about PSR. So again, my name is Nicole Nafa, and I'm the Director of Recruitment and Admissions. And then my co-conspirator in this is Dr. Rondi Walker, who is on our faculty and is also the DMin faculty director for the DMin program. We've got Lori Eisenberg, who is the director for continuing and community education, and also the guru of everything online. And so she is providing us that great support tonight. So I'm going to ask Lori to just give a little bit of orientation to the technology and let you know a couple of things.
Okay, well, thank you, Nicole, and welcome everyone. Whether you have your camera on and you can see us or not, or whether you're with us on the phone, I'm really glad that you're here. The technology that we're using tonight is one of a few different technologies that we use at PSR in distance education. It really depends on the content of the course and the way of the instructor as to what makes the most sense in terms of technology. So for tonight, I'll just point out that there is a chat in the bottom right of the screen below our pictures right now, the bottom. If you have any questions or comments, if you type them in there, I'm going to be watching the chat for the hour, and I'll notify Rondi or Nicole just to let them know. So feel free. If you want to express joy or anything else, it's a way to just throw your comments out there. And also toward the top of the screen, if you would like to mute your phone, if you're not speaking, if there's background noise, if you click once on the green button with the picture of the handset, just one click will mute your phone, and then another click will unmute your phone. So we are recording this session tonight, but we will be editing out any of the personal questions. We're only going to have the parts where Nicole or Rondi are talking, so you don't need to worry about yourself being recorded for the future. So that's all I have to say. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them about the technology in particular. No? Okay, great. I'm going to turn my camera off so that I can fade to the background, but I'll be here.
Okay, thank you, Lori. If you could center Katia's picture real quick. Katia Moles is our admissions counselor and is in the room with us, and I want you to know her because she will very likely be somebody to journey with you if you do decide to continue with the process in the DMin. And so say hi, Katia.
Hi. Sorry I'm in the shadows here. The lighting isn't the best at this time of day in this room, but I'm here. So I'd love to follow up with you if you have any questions.
Great. And then you'll hear from Roland Stringfellow, who you'll see his picture in the PowerPoint, but he's not live in video, but he's live on the phone with us. And he'll introduce himself when it's time for him to share a little bit about his experience in the DMin program. And then similarly, we have Makoto Kondo, who's also one of our DMin students, and he's with us live as well. So Makoto, there he is, will say a little bit more about his experience when that time comes. I know we advertised that we would have an alum with the program, but he was unfortunately not able to make it at the last minute. So, but I will say that certainly we want to continue the conversations, and we're also very happy to connect you to current students or to alums if that is helpful to you, and you can have those conversations via email or the phone. So we're happy to do that. So in terms of our overview, we've got those of us who are connected with PSR, and then I'm so happy to see several of you all joining in the room. This is a great turnout. what we're going to do is I'll speak very briefly just a little bit about Pacific School of Religion in general, and a little bit about the Doctor of Ministry program. Rondi will go into some of the details about the DMin program. We'll hear from our current students, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail about some of the logistics around the actual admissions information, how would you apply, and some frequently asked questions around there. And then we'll certainly leave room for conversation and for questions that you all have. So that's our general outline for the night. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and launch right in. And I might be looking sideways at my notes every now and then. But we could go to the next slide. So Pacific School of Religion, this is how our direction statement starts. Is PSR is committed to serving God by equipping historic and emerging faith communities for ministries of compassion and justice in a changing world. It's really great to see alums in the room with us who have a very first-hand experience of PSR and our programs and the kind of community we are, and its historic commitment to justice and to serving the church and to faith communities. We have strong relationships with many mainline denominations. We're a multi-denominational school, also one of the six actually now UCC seminaries. Strong United Methodist ties, Disciples of Christ, and other historic faith traditions, and we're seeing more and more new and emerging church ministers come up and be part of the community too, which is really great. Over the last few years, we've also been looking at sort of what's the direction of the future for Pacific School of Religion, and have been working to sort of strengthen our commitment to being a radically inclusive Christian community for spiritually rooted social change. And I'll share with you a little bit more about that. Our president currently speaks about sort of standing on three pillars at PSR. One being the historic tradition of preparing people for church leadership in these historic and emerging faith communities. And then the second being the one we're really trying to define a little bit more and be more explicit about, which is strengthening our commitment to social justice and reaffirming that and sort of coloring that a little bit with work around social change and how do we prepare and train spiritually rooted leaders for social change. We've got a couple of new programs. We just launched a certificate in spirituality and social change. We'll be launching a master's program that's similar, and we have a new center in a Center for Spiritual and Social Transformation. And you'll hear that again when Rondi goes through some of the cohort models for the DMin, and the reason I'm mentioning it is because in our DMin program, there's a lot of flexibility to focus on different areas. And now with this new focus, if you see yourself as a social change maker, as an agent of change, either within the church or outside of the walls of the church, that could be an area that you could focus your DMin on, and that we have more and more resources now to do that. So that's kind of exciting. We have last thing I'll say is we're excited. We have a new president, so I invite you to take a look, if you haven't yet, at the website announcement about David Vasquez-Levy, who's going to be joining us in January and is really going to help lead us into this new direction. The one thing, as many of you know, that is an important piece of PSR's character and identity is our membership in the Graduate Theological Union. It's the largest diverse partnership of seminaries and graduate schools in the U.S. We think it may even be the largest in the country, in the world. And Lori, could you go to the next slide? Thanks. There are 8 member schools. The other schools are denominationally affiliated, and PSR's multi-denominational schools, 11 academic centers and programs, and 3 interfaith centers. There's the Center for Jewish Studies, the Center for Buddhist Studies, and the Center for Islamic Studies. So a really wonderful, wonderful resource in terms of interfaith work. We have an integrated registration system, so our students can take courses at any of the GTU schools, and there are over 100 classes to choose from, so that can sometimes be the toughest part of being in a program at PSR is deciding which classes to take, because there are so many great classes. Again, the nice thing about the DMin program is the flexibility to really focus in a particular area, and you'll have the resources not only of our faculty, but of the faculty throughout the Graduate Theological Union. In addition, we're pretty much across the street from UC Berkeley, and our students can take classes at UC Berkeley, also at Mills College and Holy Names College, which are not far from us geographically, and that would you'd be able to do that through your own registration at Pacific School of Religion as part of the tuition that you pay to us. So that's another great resource. That's just a little bit of context as we then move on to talk a little bit more specifically about the Doctor of Ministry. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn that piece over to Rondi.
Okay. Actually, we also, besides being located in Berkeley, we are in the process of starting a cohort that will meet in Hawaii. And that cohort will be particularly focused on issues of ministry in the Pacific world. That's a general category because some of the ministry issues in the Pacific world are the same as ministry issues anywhere. But that will be a particular focus, and we will say more to this. I can answer some more questions about how students would participate in the GTU from a distance like that. But the first question we begin with is why a DMin program? Why would somebody want to spend a considerable amount of resources and time to think in a hard and deep way about the nature of ministry and and try to put some theological coherence to reflections about ministry? And of course there is the desire to have a credential beyond the Master of Divinity. That's one motivation people often bring to a Doctor of Ministry program. But I'm convinced that after you have had a certain amount of experience in ministry, and some of you have been in ministry a very long time, and some of you have only been in ministry for a few years, but you already know enough about it to know that there are some places where you don't know enough, where you have questions, where you are thinking about problems that go beyond the kind of conversations you can have in your immediate context. And you're looking for somewhere to explore things more deeply. And fundamentally, you suspect you have something to say to other people in ministry, some wisdom to offer. If only you could grasp the nature of your experience and figure out what it is that you really would like to be able to say about ministry. I think those are the kind of hungers that drive us to want to do doctoral work. In the PSR framing of the doctoral program, it's a flexible format program. It has 24 credit hour units and three unit courses. 24 credit hours is about 12 courses. Excuse me, not 12 courses. Where's my mathematics when I need it? 8 courses.
8.
Yeah. You have most of those courses, most of your time, at least half of your time, is the Doctor of Ministry seminar and your work on your thesis. So the heart of the Doctor of Ministry program is the Doctor of Ministry seminar, which meets for 2 weeks intensively your first year, and 1 week intensively after that until you graduate. And that's 1 week per year. So you will gather together either in Berkeley or in Hawaii once a year for this DMin seminar. And in the DMin seminar, you begin to develop methodologies and skills for carrying out the kind of research that you're most interested in doing. And the seminar works very much. It's very much geared in a conversation with the group of people that are in the seminar. And in the continuing seminar, almost the entire content of the seminar is based on student reports of their progress on their research project, and your chance to think together about deepening the work that you're doing and connecting the work that you're doing with the work that other students are doing. In the introductory seminar, we introduce you to some possible methodologies for working, but you will also choose other methodologies in conversation with your advisor. So that's the DMin seminar represents about 6 units of your coursework. About 6 units of your coursework is the actual writing of the thesis, which takes quite a long time. And we publish the theses. We're going to start this year publishing the theses online on the PSR website. So your work will be immediately available to people. That means you can you can put in things that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to put into a written document. Illustrations of various kinds, video, audio, and we will work with you about how to do that. If you'll pardon me, I think I will take a little water. Been talking too much today. And then that leaves you 4 courses that you can take, and those 4 courses can be done at PSR, or you can take courses at other schools and transfer into PSR. If you're in Berkeley and you take other courses at the GTU, you don't have to worry about the transferring of credit. But we have a mechanism for you, for instance, if you're in Hawaii, to take a course at the University of Hawaii and transfer it into our program. We have you can take a course at any accredited educational institution at the doctoral level and transfer it into your PSR DMin program. You can also, at PSR, if you are not local to PSR, you can also attend a PSR class by Skype or Google Hangouts or some other media that works for you and for the professor. And I've had several students Skype into my classes, and so you're present in the class as a computer with your face present on the screen, and you can interact with the other students and you can see what's going on. It's second best to being present in the classroom, but it offers you some opportunities if you are not going to relocate in Berkeley. All of the PSR professors have agreed to allow Doctor of Ministry students to Skype into our classes. And finally, you can take some short intensive courses that are offered at a doctoral level. And if the course, by the way, if the course you want to take is not offered at a doctoral level, you can arrange with the professor to take it at a doctoral level by increasing the difficulty of the work that you would be required to do in the course. And we also have a mechanism for doing that. And you collaborate with the professor on a way to make that course work. And finally, your project is this thing that you want to say to the rest of the world of ministry. It's a creative, original project in the field of practical theology. And that project should be a place where you can integrate your spirituality, your intellectual knowledge, and your practical experience into one place. And it's a place where you can develop a coherent theological presentation of what you otherwise do just as your ordinary life. It gives you a place to think critically about the context in which you're doing ministry, to research a particular problem or an interest of yours, and to put together a presentation of that has theological roots and theological teeth in it, giving the work that you do a more stronger foundation and a more make it more easily shared with your colleagues, and it gives a chance for you to deepen the life of your faith community. And you can do this program full-time on campus, or you can do it part-time, you can do it full-time from a distance, you can do it part-time as well. So you have 6 years to complete the program. And the program ordinarily takes, if you work full-time, you can complete it in about 3 years. And so if you take 6, you can take it in one class a semester. It's very easy to fit it into your professional life. So we're willing to and encourage you to work out with your advisor and with PSR how best to make this fit into what you do. I'll just let you know the cohorts that we have right now will be in general ministry issues. Our students will be in the general ministry issues cohort. The United Methodist Church is working with us to have a cohort basically focus on United Methodist concerns. Some of the issues of church renewal, some of the issues of the connection of the life of the church with the world, these things that the United Methodist Church, particularly in this conference, but it goes across the board in the United Methodist world, things that cross-cultural ministries. Those kind of issues that the United Methodist Church is concerned with, if you do your Doctor of Ministry focused on one of those concerns, the United Methodist Church in this conference is willing to help support your Doctor of Ministry education. So if you're United Methodist in a different conference, you might speak to your folks and see if they also have similar funding available if you're working on that. There will be a cohort in sexuality and religion, and a number of our current Doctor of Ministry students are working in that area. There will be a cohort connected to the new center. We already have a center for lesbian and gay studies and religion and ministry, and some of our sexuality and religion students are connected to that center, but we'll have a cohort that's connected to the Center for Spirituality and Social Transformation in spirituality and social change. We are working on developing the Hawaii cohort, Pacific World Ministry issues, and that will be starting in this coming summer. And then there's one in development on border ministry issues that I'm working on in collaboration with a group of pastors in Mexico. So that's a kind of a quick overview of the program and the kind of topics that we work with. Your cohort will meet on its own. The people in the cohort will decide how to meet. You'll be required to meet at least 4 times a year and to present a report of the cohort's work together what the cohort should do is to share what you're learning in your classes with each other, and when you begin writing your thesis, to share drafts of the thesis, discuss those things, and help to deepen each other's thinking about the issues of ministry. And some of you may find yourself working on similar things and be interested in actually collaborating together. I am open to talking with you if the occasion arises about doing some collaborative work, more, 2 or more students working together on a project that would be larger than what one person could do. I think maybe is there the next slide also something on? No, the next slide is the testimonials. That's great. So I am finished with that, and think about questions that you have. You can ask them when we get to that part in the program.
Thank you, Rondi. So, Roland, what you don't see on the screen now is your picture that we just put up on the slides. I'm going to turn it over to Roland Stringfellow, who is one of our current DMin students. Go ahead, Roland.
Okay, thank you. And very proud to be a PSR alum. I got my MDiv, graduated in 2006. Went off to become a pastor with the Metropolitan Community Churches. And while I was at PSR, I was a part of the Certificate in Sexuality and Religion program, and focused on LGBT theology. And so that is primarily what my DMin project is focused on now. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to go back to school was part of my role of working with clergy is helping them to understand how to become more inclusive and welcoming and answer any theological issues they may have around LGBT inclusion. So to continue the studies, because to continue my studies made perfect sense for me to continue to dig deeper so I could be more equipped to speak to these ministers. So it just worked out perfectly that I was connected with PSR. I am a current staff member at the Center for Lesbian Gay Studies of Religion and Ministry. And it just worked out well for me to just continue my education, as I said. And so, as Rondi has already outlined the various cohorts, I met with my cohort this past January of 2014, and just it was very enriching listening to the variety of projects and how each of us could support one another. And I finished the 2 weeks with my cohort really feeling supported, bonded, and had even more individuals in which to go to help articulate my project even more so. So I think that's about it off the top of my head. I didn't have a prepared statement, but if there are questions or if Rondi or Nicole, if there's something that you would like to ask that you would like me to speak about that I haven't, I'll be more than happy to do that as well.
Roland, could you say a little bit more about the project you're doing, if there's a particular format you're going to use, or have you gotten to that point yet? Maybe you haven't. It's still in formation, but where I am now with my project is I am hoping to develop a curriculum for parents of LGBT children, whether they are young children or adult children, who are interested in reconciling with their LGBT child, and to outline some of the theological questions that people have that have
separated the parent and child in the past. And I shouldn't say it's just for parents. It's for adult children as well. You know, it's really for anyone who's in a relationship that is currently strained, how to go about working towards reconciliation, especially when the issue has been church or theology, if you will. And so basically it's going to be a guide on how to have those really difficult conversations. I currently wrote a curriculum for African American ministers, and one of the things that I have found was individuals who were just really needing to needing to find emotional language, or how to deal with the emotional, issues that can come between those types of arguments that my current curriculum really didn't go into. And so that is what I'm hoping that my project will yield, is this curriculum, this pamphlet, if you will, this brochure, if you will, that anyone can pick up and say, now I know at least what are the basic building blocks towards reconciliation around us.
Thank you, Roland, for being with us. Can you stick around to the end for if anyone has questions, or do you need to go?
No, absolutely. I can stick around.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you. So I will invite Makoto to speak next.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm a first-year DMin student, and also I'm a missionary from Japan, and I serve one of Japanese-speaking congregations at San Francisco United Methodist Church. And I prepared the paper, and I will read this one for experience my. I want to talk to my experience at my school life. For these 3 years, I have been serving as a missionary sent from Japan at one of the Japanese American churches in San Francisco. Last year, I made an application to study at PSR and was admitted to inter-DMin course. I thought that it was very necessary for me to understand the true meaning of my missionary activities from the perspectives of missiology, while piling up the various experiences at my pastoral works at church. The DMin program does not necessarily require the students a lot of credit for the doctorate degree. So it's already Professor Landy explained that thing. So it may be possible for the students to pursue their academic concern together with their ordinary jobs. But this does not always mean that our academic studies are easier than those of other doctoral studies. We have to concentrate our academic concerns more attentively, and we also need many days and time to spare in order to accomplish our final goal. Fortunately, thankfully, various and most talented professors always give us necessary and adequate advice during the courses of our study. There are almost all the these sources and materials at the GTU library and the UC Berkeley library nearby are also available at any time if necessary. You could take course or classes provided by other seminaries allied with GTU. In my case, I have been taking courses up till now related mainly to missiology. And in the spring semester, I took a course at Jesuit School of Theology for my academic concern. Jesuit Catholic school accepted me, a Protestant pastor, in one of the classes there without any hesitation. As most of the DMin students are doing their researches based with various actual experiences and activities of their own. So the contents of their presentations and discussions at the classes are very concrete and very much interesting at each time. There are a lot of foreign students and researchers from various districts and countries. Walls or gaps of languages sometimes cause the students to feel some difficulties. But beyond these difficulties, the class atmosphere are very comfortable. And students can share some international perspectives with each other without going abroad. At present, I feel very good under these most favorable circumstances for my doctoral study. You could easily find a good new friend, not only at the classes, but also at dining halls of the seminary. And I will not be able to stay long here as my visa will be expired with 2 years. But I hope I could acquire all the credits necessary to fill up the doctor's degree during my stay here in the U.S. That's all.
Thank you so much, Makoto. So we'll continue on with a little bit more information, and then we'll have time at the end for questions that you have for Makoto or Roland or Rondi or myself. So thank you so much. Just a couple of logistical, let me move one more forward. Whoops, sorry, Ron, that was me. So we do accept applications year-round. We do have priority deadlines. These are important if you are going to apply to be on campus and would like PSR housing. We also encourage any international students to really apply by the priority deadlines, but we will accept applications year-round for the program. And we do accept students to begin in the fall or in the spring. And if you begin in the spring, actually, you'd be beginning in that January intersession, which is a really fine time. So February 1st is the priority deadline for the fall semester, and October 1st for the spring semester. In terms of the application materials and what we would ask you to submit, there's the application itself, which asks for some of your information, and a written statement. And there'll be questions specific to the DMin program that we will ask in your written statement. DMin students are also asked to provide a CV or a resume so that we can see the work that you've been doing in your ministry. And 3 letters of reference. And for a DMin application, we would like to see a faculty reference, a reference from a denominational representative or adjudicatory body, and then a professional colleague. Those would be 3 good references to provide. We ask for all of your transcripts, all of your official transcripts, anything post-secondary, so all of your college and graduate school credit transcripts, please send those to us. And then we have an application fee of $50. Part of the application review process for the DMin is an interview with the DMin faculty director, which is Rondi Walker, who you are meeting tonight. And that is to talk a little bit about the project and get a sense of what your project is. I'm often asked this question, and I'll tell students, when they ask, well, how clear do I need to be on my project? You don't need to know exactly what it's going to look like. You don't need to know exactly what form it may take, but you'll see in the written statement, in the questions that we ask you what are the critical issues that you are facing in your current ministry. because we're assuming that's where your project is going to stem out of. So to be able to articulate and define, what's the critical issue, and then how the resources at PSR and the DMin project and program are going to help you address those resources. So you don't have to be crystal clear, but we do like you to have some idea of what you want to focus on, what's the area you want to focus on for your project. Because as you heard, I think it only ends up being 4 actual courses in addition to the project writing and in addition to the seminars. So you want to really select those courses wisely in terms of the area that you want to focus on. It takes us about 2 to 6 weeks to process an application, so we want you to keep that in mind when you're applying. That's another good reason to get the application early in. If you submit an application 2 weeks before the start of a semester, there's no guarantee that we would be able to process that in time. Again, because it needs to be reviewed, you need to schedule an interview with Rondi Walker. Also, this is not on the slide, but one of the things that is part of our application process is we want to make sure that we've got the right faculty person to advise you. So that's part of the process as well, and why it can take a little bit of time, is we want to make sure we're reading really carefully into what it is that you want to focus on, and we really want to match you well with one of our faculty members to advise you for that. I'm going to turn this slide over to Rondi.
Okay. One important thing to think about for that application statement, where you talk about what you'd like to do with the Doctor of Ministry, it's really a very short degree. So you don't have a lot of time to try to conceptualize this from scratch. So if you don't come into the degree already knowing very, very clearly what it is you want to work on, you will spend some time and possibly some coursework on things that really don't get you where you want to go. So that's one reason we are looking for that. And if you have any trouble thinking about what the project is as you're working on that, don't be afraid to call me. And I could even put you in touch with a faculty member who'd be willing to discuss that with you before you start trying to write it down. So you don't you can take advantage of some conversations here at PSR while you're thinking about that project too. So the academic criteria, though, for starting the program to make sure that you're ready, you need prior theological study at the postgraduate level. So a Master of Divinity is the standard degree. But if you've been in a culture, for instance, where the education system doesn't offer a Master of Divinity but offers an equivalent education, you just need to explain to us about that equivalency. And we have certain things that we're looking for that you would have studied. And what we would do, we can admit you without a Master of Divinity, but we need to be careful that you are prepared to undertake the work of the Doctor of Ministry, because we start with the assumption that you already have this basic theological education. The second very important thing is 3 years of professional ministry following your theological degree. So some people have had considerable ministry experience before they have they get the education. This is not PSR's regulation. This regulation actually comes from our accrediting bodies, from the Association of Theological Schools, which governs specifically the Doctor of Ministry degree. We are required to make sure that you have 3 years of professional work following your theology degree. So we are allowed to admit a few students up to a certain percentage of our entering DMin class without this 3 years of experience, but it needs to be students who have had an extraordinary amount of ministry experience prior to their theological education. So just think about that, because it may mean that you simply need to work a couple of more years before you're ready. You need this experiential base because, and I will tell you from having been a pastor for 10 years before I came to teach at PSR, after I had my theological education, that there are things you learn about the church by working in the church, or by learn about a religious organization by working in a religious organization if you're not based in Christianity, that you will never learn from reading books about it. So that practical experience is a necessary prerequisite for the Doctor of Ministry. The Doctor of Ministry is a professional doctorate, not an academic doctorate. So one analogy I like to use is that it's a little bit like the comparison between an MD and a PhD in medicine. An MD can practice medicine. A person with a PhD in medicine may know everything there is to know about, I don't know, endocrinology or whatever they call that. But they won't know they won't actually have a license to practice medicine. You are working on a professional doctorate where your experience is part of the content of your education. So we want you to have enough experience. Full-time, you would take up to 3 years to complete the program. You can complete it in 6 part-time. And you need to maintain a minimum grade point average of a B grade point average, 3.0. That is because if you are not really, if the courses are not something that you feel ready to handle, if your grade point average slips, it's a sign not that you're a bad person or that you're not smart or that you can't do ministry, but it is a sign that you need to think carefully about your approach to your education. And so just be aware that if that grade point average becomes difficult for you, please be in touch with us early to talk about strategies. Doctoral education is not the same as your MDiv program. And when you try mixing education in with your full-time job, it can sometimes get the better of you. So just note that grade point average as a way of gauging your, not, like I said, not your ability, but your current approach to how you're doing the program. And we can work on strategies to help you out. There are a few little boxes there that have nothing written in them because they represent things that you bring from your previous education or from your experience that will be unique to yourself. And they will help you in the program, prepare you for what you need to do. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Rondi. So I won't spend too much time on this next slide, but just in terms of the cost of the program, the tuition for the DMin that's set for the 2014-15 years is $590 per credit, which for the 24 credits comes out to a little bit over $14,000. That's adjusted slightly every year. Our tuition for the DMin program is less than our tuition for all of our other programs. And the reason that is because in terms of financial aid, we don't offer institutional scholarships for the DMin program. We do have limited scholarships that are designated specifically for international students to come and do their DMin here. What we do offer, however, is the need-based financial aid. That's the federal aid. So federal work study and federal loans would be available to you if that's a resource that you want to use. And then we have other resources that we like to let people know about in terms of some good databases that could help you find the financing for the program. So the GTU has a really good one, and then the Fund for Theological Education also has what they call the Fund Finder database. And those are databases where you can plug in information about yourself, the type of program you want to do, denominational, other kind of demographics, and they'll match you up with some scholarships that you may be eligible for. And I encourage everyone, not just our DMin students, but everyone to take advantage of those kinds of resources. And then also to check in with your employer or your denomination about funding that they may be able to help you with in terms of the DMin project. A lot of folks who are in churches can get some support from their denominations.
For instance, the United Methodist Northern California Nevada Conference offer to assist students who join that United Methodist DMin cohort and work on something that's of use to the United Methodist Church.
Yes. Thank you, Rondi. So that is, it brings us to the point where we want to invite your questions and conversation about whether you need us to clarify anything that we have mentioned, or if there are pieces that we left out and something that you want to know about. So please go ahead and jump in. Now we're back to the Hollywood Squares model here, so that's good. And also, if you're just on the phone and not video, oh, there's Christina. Hi, Christina. Anyone on the phone can jump in also. We can't hear you, Christina. I think maybe you're still muted.
My question is, I have an MA from the GTU. I don't have an MDiv. Would I still be eligible for the program?
So that's where Rondi was talking about the equivalency. So what's required is an MDiv or an MDiv equivalency. So what we would do in that situation, and this is a great question because it comes up a lot, is we would ask you to go ahead and send us your transcripts. And they can even be, they don't need to be official at this point. Eventually, if you do apply, we would need official transcripts. But send us copies of your transcripts. And then our Assistant Dean for Academic Program will review those. And what she will do is go through them to determine, first of all, if you have MDiv equivalency. And second, what would you need in order to get MDiv equivalency? And it's two pieces. It's the number of credit hours that we're looking for, and in addition to that, it's areas of study that we're looking for. And a lot of this is really regulated by our accrediting bodies of what constitutes a Master's of Divinity. So for a simple example would be field education. A lot of folks, if you do an MDiv, you're going to do field education or some kind of contextual learning or supervised ministry. And some folks who have different master's degrees may not have done that. So that would be one area. Some of the practical ministries that are always a part of an MDiv program, like preaching or Christian education, may or may not have been part of your own specific master's program. So what we would then get back to you is a list or an indication of what you would need in order to do MDiv equivalency. And then that's where my office will then pick you back up and say, okay, so here's what you need and here's the way that you can get it. So for example, if you only need one class in order to get the equivalent of an MDiv degree, then I would probably suggest you just take that class as a special student, which is just taking the class for academic credit without being enrolled in a program. We've got one student right now this semester taking 2 classes as a special student and then planning to start the DMin in the next term. If you need more than that, let's say you need close to a year, there are programs, a lot of students in that situation might do our CAPS program, which is a Certificate in Advanced Professional Studies, and that's a post-master's program, so you would be eligible for that with the MA that you already have. And it's a very flexible 18-credit program that allows you to take whatever you want. So you can take all those courses that you would need to meet equivalency. So it just depends on how much you need, and then we'll work with you to figure out, the best way to get that, and you'll decide, is this still the direction I want to go in?
So you said I can send you my informal transcript, my unofficial transcripts, and you can review them?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And you would send all of that directly to the admissions office, and we'll take it from there, getting it to the right people.
Got it. Thank you.
Great question. Anyone else?
I have a question. Have you had anyone take courses over at the business school? And if so, how has that worked? Because I'm interested in revenue streams for nonprofits and faith communities.
Great. I don't know if we have had, Rondi may know, or a couple of our students may know, but it's absolutely an option for you. So your courses, I believe, would need to be approved by your advisor if you're going to take a class at Cal or at one of the other schools. So any non-PSR class, you want to make sure you want to run it by your advisor or the assistant dean to just make sure you don't take it and then you get stuck. But if it's a class that's relevant to the project that you're going to do, then absolutely. I mean, it sounds like this would be, and I think, we really want our students to use the resources that are available to them, and to have, one of the top business schools across the street would be great. And I think with this kind of defining this new vision, we're going to see more and more people who are really bridging church work and nonprofit work and business models and things like that in the programs.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Natasha has asked an interesting question about applying for ahead of time. Could she apply and then now for 2016? Now, being in Australia, I would say Natasha might want to consider either the Hawaii course, which in the summers in Honolulu for 2 weeks in the summer, and it starts this coming summer, or she would apply for Berkeley. If she applied this fall, it would be for Berkeley 2015 is what we would assume. But if she deferred, she could defer until Berkeley 2016 if she wanted Berkeley. So some people, it might be good to apply and be accepted because that might affect your ability to get funding. If you said program at a certain time, you might be able to get some funding, and it would allow you the lead time you needed for that application. So I don't think it's a problem, but you might want to discuss it with Nicole, the reasons why you want to do that. But other people may want to think through that same.
Yes, yes, and for all of our programs, if you're admitted to the program, you have the option to defer that admission for up to 1 year. So you could do it that way, and also our application asks you which term you want to apply for. So you could just indicate, I'm looking down at the chat notes here, January 2016. Yeah, because the cohort for January 15, we're going to start seeing applications for that role. We're already getting applications for that for this coming January. So you could apply now and have us review that and be admitted, and then either defer, or if you know for sure that you want to start in 2016, that can be the term that you apply for.
This is Suzanne Marsh. So
Hi,
this
Suzanne.
is going to sound like a strange question, I think, but so I'm thinking about the required January meeting, and so right now I'm thinking, well, gosh, this coming January I already have all kinds of commitments. So if how far ahead are those dates available? And I know that may sound like a mundane question, but for a parish minister like me, calendar is it. It's kind of the whole thing. So.
The DMin seminar is always the second and third week of January, and the continuing seminar is the second week of January.
Okay, so the second and third is great. Thank you.
Yeah. The Hawaii one, I don't have the exact dates of the Hawaii one because I am still working with the UCC conference office where we're going to be meeting, and I'm trying to make sure that those dates do not conflict with any of the major denominational annual meetings that tend to happen in June and other times.
Yeah, that would be a great one to join, but it's probably more realistic for me to just go to the Bay Area than to Hawaii.
Yeah, well, the Hawaii one is for, there's quite a few people in the Pacific world for whom Hawaii is easier than Berkeley, and they wouldn't be able to take part in the program if they have to come to Berkeley. So that's the reason for making that expansion. And so it'll be focused inevitably on Pacific world ministry issues. I mean, not just Pacific Islanders, but just what does it mean to do ministry in the Pacific world?
Are there any other questions?
You mentioned that we can take master level courses as long as, that they get upgraded, I don't know the proper word, to a doctoral level. Is that the same whether it's a course within the GTU or even outside the GTU? I'm just thinking if I take a course, I'm here in Miami at the Florida International, that's master's level, but I work with the professor to make it doctoral level, would that be sufficient?
What you would do is you would work with us, and I would suggest that you talk with your advisor as well as your PSR advisor as well as your professor. The PSR advisor will help the professor to understand what are the criteria we use for judging whether something's doctoral level, and we can send you some information about that. So usually it means you're doing a more complicated, deeper look at the subject. And it would mean possibly additional reading or different reading, for instance, and a project that would ask you to do some serious critical thinking and analysis that maybe the master's level students are not able to do because they don't have that kind of experience yet.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Can I just ask, this is again about applying for a future date. I've already got one of my reference letters written, and I was wondering how long that reference letter will be valid if I hold on to it for a while before applying.
You could, if you wanted to, you could send that to us now. References need to come, in order for them to be considered official references, they need to come directly from the referrer, or if they come from you, they need to be in a sealed envelope signed on the back. Those can come to us at any time, and we do often sometimes we get packages that are a complete application, and often we'll get pieces that trickle in. If we get anything in and you haven't applied yet, we will just file that and hold it, and when we get your application, we'll always check to see if there's anything else that's come in. So, if a reference is several years old, we wouldn't necessarily turn it away, but we might encourage you to get some more updated references. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Okay. Last call for questions. Well, thank you all for taking a little over an hour to spend time with us, and we hope that this was helpful to you, and we really appreciate it. We've got your information so that we can get you in the system and do a little follow-up. The very last slide, I don't know, if, Laura, if you can pop that up, just had some of our, there it is, it's coming, some of our information about how to contact us. And please don't hesitate to be in touch with us, with myself, or with Katia in the admissions office. Our colleague Ruben handles a lot of the administrative work and would be in conversation with you about questions about your application. And I know Rondi Walker always has a very generous, open heart and door for our DMin prospective students. So please don't hesitate to be in touch with any of us if we can help you through the process. It's really fun for us to do that, and we enjoy that work with you. So, yeah.
Don't hesitate to send me their contact information, and I can get in touch with them and talk with them, or they can contact me directly. I am not a person that is unfriendly to strangers. So just don't be afraid to call and ask. Don't be afraid to send somebody my way, because I'll be happy to talk to them about the doctor of ministry. And if I am in your area, like if I ever got to Australia, I would contact you and want to talk to you directly. And those of you in Hawaii, I will be in Hawaii again in March for 1 week. And I will look forward to the possibility of talking with some of you at that time.
Great. Thank you, everybody. I think I'm gonna call it the end of our webinar.
All right.
Thanks, Lori, for our technical support behind the scenes.
And thank you to all of you for joining us. It was good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Aloha.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you, Makoto.
Bye.
Thank you very much.